All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on TalkStream Live. My email address here in the studio is the studio address is studio@xzoneradiotv.com. However, you can always send an email, 724-365, to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our website where you can find out what we've been up to, what we're doing, and where we intend on going at www.xzoneradio.com. Just a few programming reminders for one and all for this weekend, listening to us live and around the world on the X Zone Broadcast Network. Saturday and Sunday from 6 p.m. until 7 p.m. Eastern. High Tech with Corey K. from 7 p.m. until 9 p.m. Eastern. The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. A brand new show debuting this weekend here on the X Zone. A Different Perspective with Kevin Randall. And then the best of the X Zone from this week and from the X Zone Vault from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. Eastern. We also have some great new hosts starting with us. Roberta Grimes. We've had her on the show many times. Roberta is going to be joining us as a host here on the X Zone Broadcast Network. We're going to be she's going to be talking to a great number of super guests about everything from the fun of dying to Thomas Jefferson and much more. Then Patty Conklin is also joining us here on the network. And these two exciting shows are going to be starting within 3 weeks. And if you'd like to find out what is going on in the X Zone Broadcast Network and when these shows are starting, as well as our daily and our daily and weekly broadcast schedules, go to www.xzone. No, that's the show. Thanks, Craig. Give me the right cue here. xzbn.net. Brand new feature starts right now here in the X Zone. Every 2 weeks, Ken Pfiefer is going to be joining us. Ken is the chief investigator for MUFON in New Jersey, and he's also the MUFON state director for Vermont and Rhode Island. He's well known and highly respected throughout the UFO community and around the world for his, worldufophotos.org that has over 9,000 UFO photos. And he's also the founder of UFO Photos and News.org with over 1,500 case files from all over the world. He's going to be joining us every 2 weeks to talk about UFOs. Joining me now is the one and only Ken Pfiefer. How are you, Kenny?
Hey, Rod. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good for an old guy. Wait until you be my age, and then you'll understand.
Yeah. Well, I'm 65.
God bless you. You and I are the same age. No, I'm actually
terrific. Yeah, I was listening to your show. You got a great show, I must say. It's an honor for you having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, we are thrilled that you're going to be joining us every 2 weeks to talk about UFOs and bringing us up to date, telling us the other side of the story. And we're so happy to have you as part of the X Zone Nation family. Thank you.
That's great. I'm glad to be here.
All right, Ken, since you and I last talked, what is there new in the world of UFOs and things that go bump in the night in outer space?
Well, interestingly, we in the last few days we got a new case file in. It was a close encounter of the third kind in New Jersey, Long Beach Township, New Jersey. Now, I like to read the witness statement here, if you don't mind. It's very interesting.
Go right ahead.
And it says here, let me see, August 2016, Long Beach Township, New Jersey. Now, Long Beach Township is a stretch of land that's right on the ocean. Mm-hmm. It kind of reminds me of the Outer Banks or down in North Carolina. but it's a stretch of beach, and it's north of Atlantic City. So some beautiful homes. It's just a great spot out there in Long Beach Township, New Jersey. But we have a woman out there. Her statement says a paranormal group visited me on the first week of August because I did not know where to turn to. You know, here we go again. A lot of people really don't know MUFON. They don't know to call MUFON, so you know they turn to a paranormal group. And as a matter of fact, the paranormal group contacted me last week and said that would you mind helping us in our investigation? And I basically told them I can't do a thing until this is officially turned in and until a case file is created for MUFON. Then what I did, of course, I assigned one of my best investigators, Bob Spearing, to investigate this case. And basically it comes down to, she says here, I explained to them I was expecting occult influences in the form of entities that were able to control my thoughts and talk to me with my own voice. It has been going on for 7 years. I thought it was a mixture of alien and supernatural, but was not sure and needed help. I told them I did experience seeing a UFO at least twice. I saw one fly over my house around 7 years ago when this all began. It was very large, about the size of my house, and flew off extremely fast when I saw it for about a second there over my house. The second event was around 5 months ago, and it flew left, then flew right, stayed there for a short while. I showed no interest because of my symptoms, and it disappeared. I have been guided into believing the control over my mind is robotic and from implants. They had mentioned reptilian to me. I saw a gray once in my room, but I am not sure what to consider actual, because I know they like to trick and manipulate. The word Illuminati comes up a lot. I have been getting attacked both mentally and physically. When the paranormal group came, they tested me for EMF signals, and I was emitting them from the left side of my ear and my arm. The group has it recorded on a camera video phone. They tried reaching out to you, and I was told to personally submit a report. So, you know, like I said, they called me, and I told them they had to contact MUFON.
Sure.
I can ask for the video of the EMF when you reply to this if you need it. I am unsure as to the procedure you take. I have been struggling, and life has been very hard for me with all of these attacks. The attacks include pains in my head, chest pains, unwanted sexual feelings.
Oh, my gosh.
Heating of the body, loss of memory, feeling drained and tired, being kept awake at night, and altering electronics such as music I'm listening to, nausea, and I need help. I have an MRI scheduled for Monday, which I'm very interested. I'm going to with my investigator, Bob Spearing, to see if we can possibly get some information. But it says here I have an MRI scheduled for Monday and dermatologist scheduled in late September for this bump in my arm. But I am afraid of implants, which have been mentioned, and other types of influence that I am unaware of how to get rid of. Additional evidence, such as video of EMF signatures, can be provided. I just need to ask the paranormal group to send it to me. So we're in the middle of investigating this case. You know, sometimes we get cases, we get statements from witnesses, and they sound phony.
Yeah.
You know, they sound hoax. They sound made up. But you know, after looking into this, well, we're going to be looking into this a little bit more. This sounds like it may be legit enough to you know, check it out. So I have my investigator, Bob Spearing. He's looking into this for me, and we're going to kind of take it from there. But yeah, this just came in a couple of days ago. We get a lot. We've been getting some good cases in New Jersey, but then again, you know, a lot of them are just one or two words. You know, a lot of people, they see these things for the first time in their life, and you know, they only want to write the half a sentence about it, which is kind of strange to me. But a lot of times when you call them on the phone and start to investigate a case, you can't shut them up. I mean, I just sit there and let them go with it. You know, the only problem is sometimes they start contaminating a case by, oh yeah, back in 1953, I was with my, they start all these other cases they're dragging out, and I tell them to stop right there. I says, if you, I don't want to know about the other cases, that this is how cases get contaminated. But, if you want to report these sightings through MUFON, then of course we'll be more than happy to, to give you a call and we'll investigate, the case for you. But, that's the one we're working on right now. That's probably about the most interesting one that we're working on right now.
Really?
And there's a case in Nebraska that came up here recently. I wanted to. This was a few months ago. This was Lincoln, Nebraska. This was an alien triangle was spotted near the 155th Air Force Wing in Nebraska. This is Lincoln, Nebraska, and I believe Lincoln, Nebraska may be west of the big Air Force base in Nebraska. There, it just slipped my mind. It's got Offutt Air Force Base. Lincoln is, I believe, it's west of Offutt Air Force Base. But it basically says here that a large triangle shape defined by a series of dim lights moves silently and fast south to north over Lincoln, Nebraska. I was sitting outside at the patio table with my dog sitting next to me. The night was clear, and the stars were bright. I looked down at my dog. Her ears were perked up, and she was focused on something in the sky off to the north. Very strange to see her follow whatever it was until she was looking straight up. This caught my attention because it's strange for dogs or cats to follow flying objects like airplanes and helicopters. I followed my dog's gaze, and directly over me, I saw a series of dim lights that clearly defined a huge triangle, and it was moving north very quickly and very fast. There was no red or green identifiers or strobes. The lights did not appear to be on the outside of the object, but more like the dim light you would expect coming from windows. My sense was that its attitude was in the hundreds, not the thousands, because there was a halo effect around the lights due to the moist air. The object was perfectly silent, and for a time I noticed my dog's ears perk up to the time it vanished off to the north, 6 seconds at the most. So this was close to the 155th Air Force refueling wing there, and I thought this was something very interesting. I thought you'd wanted to hear.
Ken, how many reports would your sections receive over the period of a month?
Well, I would say in New Jersey, we're probably averaging about maybe 3 a week. We're talking between 10 and 15 a month. A lot of our reports are from North Jersey, out towards the Manhattan area, and quite frankly, I think I may have mentioned before, I think a lot of these alien crafts, I'm not going to say UFOs, you know that already.
Yeah.
I think a lot of these alien crafts are attracted to Manhattan because at nighttime, like I said, if you're flying around at 100,000 feet in a little spaceship and Manhattan is lit up like a diamond, I can see why these craft are attracted to the bright lights of Manhattan. And they basically come down and investigate. And they also investigate a lot of the other larger cities. And they also love fireworks. We get a ton of sightings with fireworks because I think these craft are just wondering what the hell is it. And they're just down here checking it out. And I think they're just as inquisitive as we are when it comes to things like that.
Ken, with the lady who reported the first case that you were talking to us about, was there any other collaborating evidence to go along with her report, like radar tracking or independent witnesses?
No, there was no. Well, I'm sure we've only kind of hit the tip of the iceberg here. We're in the process. Like I said, Bob Spearing is in the process. He's a state section director for MUFON, New Jersey. He's an excellent investigator. And, he's going to start digging up, I feel it's only the tip of the iceberg, and I'm very interested in this implant. If she does have an implant, I'd like to be there myself to
Sure.
hopefully get my hands on it somehow and possibly get this thing this implant sent to someone who deals with alien implants, essentially. So it's a very interesting case. I'm kind of glad the Paranormal Society contacted me, and so we'll probably work along with them and see what this is all about.
Is when it comes to the alien implant, I understand that Dr. Roger Lear, who was the pioneer when it comes to the extrication of alien implants, along with Daryl Sims, passed away. So who now is the foremost authority when it comes to alien implants?
Frankly, I'm not really sure. I've never had the opportunity to be in the middle of a case like this. I've been to abduction cases. I've been to hypnosis sessions with abductees, and they are very, very interesting. As a matter of fact, we had a couple hypnosis sessions at George Fowler's. Of course, George, he's the state Eastern director for MUFON, and of course, he is the state director for New Jersey. And I started working for George Fowler about 10 years ago. And he has conducted a few hypnosis sessions at his house in Medford, New Jersey, and they were just something to be seen. That's for sure. But now we do have a gentleman in North Jersey who is a licensed hypnotist, and as a matter of fact, he's the chief of police up there in North Jersey. And he has been. I usually send him all the cases for any abduction cases. But quite frankly, I try to talk people out of getting a hypnosis. Frankly, I think MUFON is leaving themselves wide open for a major lawsuit if, God forbid, someone would have a hypnosis session about aliens and they relive, what they've seen and what they did to them. These people would go out and kill themselves. That would leave MUFON open for some big lawsuits and even the investigators. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone should relive something horrible that probably happened to them, if and when they were abducted.
Yeah, I've often wondered about the credibility of the information that comes from someone who undergoes hypnosis, Ken. I know in law enforcement up here in Canada, hypnosis is not recognized as a source of testimony, and I believe the same thing it goes for different states within the United States itself. But why does the UFO community, look at hypnosis as being a credible source of information and witness testimony?
I'm not really sure. I really don't know. I think, first of all, you have to. Not everyone can be hypnotized. I've tried to be hypnotized, and they can't do it to me. Again, you're looking at that who's being hypnotized, and if this person is credible, and how do you really know if they're under?
Yeah.
It's really, you could get someone who's a pretty good actor or actress, and they could bluff their way through a hypnosis session for sure. But I apparently they've been using this for years now. It's matter. I think there are a couple websites out there, a couple of people who specialize in hypnosis sessions for abductions and things like that. But like I said, I think it's I think you're leaving yourself wide open for something bad to happen if you do it.
What about cases that are very well known and based on hypnosis? You've got the case of Betty and Barney Hill. You've got the case of Travis Walton, and then you've got the cases that Bud Hopkins participated in, and all of these three cases, and I'm sorry, the two cases and the cases that Bud Hopkins worked on, seem to be regarded as part of the holy grail of the UFO community. That's true, and I'm not really quite sure why. Of course, if you were a hypnotist and you've done this many times to many people, then I'm sure that they feel it's legit, and it is something that
people are holding these thoughts in the back of their mind and trying to repress these thoughts and images and everything else, and maybe these people, these hypnotists, can bring this out. Apparently they can. Like I said, I myself, I can't be hypnotized. I
Right.
try to have it done, and just for the hell of it, and it's I like to experiment a little bit, and
You devil,
but
you.
it's a scary thing, I would hate to start squawking like a chicken every time someone said Niagara Falls. One of them deals. You get this crazy hypnotist that's going to, play tricks on you and make you look like a fool. That's something different. I don't want any part of that.
Hey, listen, Ken, you and I have to take a break at the bottom of the hour. Great having you with us, and I look forward to sharing this time with you every 2 weeks. Thank you so much for being part of the X-Zone family.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Ken, stand by. X-Zone Nation, Ken Pfiefer is our special guest, and as I said, Ken is going to be with us every second Friday. Looking forward to this with Ken. Now, if you'd like to find out more about Ken, here's a couple of websites. worldufophotos.org and worldufophotos.news.org. And Ken Pfiefer and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center, where? Right here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't forget, you can always find out what's going on in the X-Zone by going to xzoneradiotv.com. And to find out what's going on in the world of the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Wow, I never thought when I started the show we'd have our own broadcast network, but here we are 25 years later. Go to www.xzbn.net. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, do not go away. Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Still to come on tonight's show, Bill Bean is going to be joining us. And that's going to be a very spooky and interesting hour. Speaking about interesting hours, my guest this hour is Ken Pfiefer. Ken has been in the UFO realm for a number of years. He's the gentleman behind worldufophotos.org with over 9,000 UFO photos. And he's also the founder of World UFO Photos and News.org with over 1,500 case files from all over the world. And Ken is going to be joining me every second Friday at this time to discuss the cases as well as any UFO news and updates that cross his paths. Now, why I say paths in plural is because he is the chief investigator for MUFON in New Jersey, but he's also the MUFON state director for Vermont and Rhode Island. Let me ask you something, Ken, my boy.
Yes, sir. What
is your opinion of Project Blue Book?
Well, as we all know, it was a debunker. It was their whole reason for it was for them to, of course, try to get case files from people that have seen UFOs, but their main part of it all was to debunk it. They were, of course, Alan Hynek, I believe he was one of the main stars there for Project Blue Book, and after he saw all of these cases, he started to eventually become a believer. So it was just something that the Air Force did they just needed to debunk what was going on because these alien craft they've been around for millions of years, thousands of years. Even our first recorded history, these things have been flying around. Yeah. There's a ton of photos, old paintings, from 2,000-3,000 years ago. That have these alien crafts in the painting. So it just kind of tells me that these flying saucers have been around for a very long time, and of course Roswell kind of started it all. But
Well, I
there's
think
a lot of other big cases out there that are just as big as Roswell, and I think I've told you before. I think the biggest, most important case to me was the UFO flap they had in July of 1952 over the White House. But that is never real. That was buried. Is what that was. I think they had some kind of someone from the government there said it was some kind of Temujin inversion. You know, it was the stupidest excuse that I've ever heard from anyone.
Yeah, Jerome Clark in his UFO encyclopedias did an excellent job on reporting of the UFO flap over Washington going back to 1952. But you're also right, because nobody talks about it anymore.
No, I think that's the biggie. That's the one that no one wants to touch. There's too many questions to ask. And I told you before, one of my investigators, was chief of police in South Jersey, and he became an investigator because his brother-in-law had a triangle sighting there in Woodstown, New Jersey, South Jersey, the same town where my wife had her triangle sighting. Well, the investigator, call him Buck. He's the one who was 9 years old that saw a UFO hovering at the end of the runway there at the Greater Wilmington Airport.
Oh, my gosh.
Same day that, as a matter of fact, the jets were dispatched out of Greater Wilmington Airport. It was possibly called Newcastle Airport at that time, but on them dates there in '52, they were dispatched out of that field there, and he was a 9-year-old boy, and he said that he saw a flying saucer hovering at the end of one of the runways, and this has never been. This is all new stuff. This has never been reported, and we are in the process of checking this out, investigating this, but it's been very hard. We've hit a lot of dead ends, because trying to find people who lived on the perimeter of the airport and that are still alive, back in '52, it's easier said than done, but. I think eventually we'll be able to get some pretty good concrete evidence about it.
The UFO triangles that are being reported to you and that was witnessed by your wife, as well as others in the past, are they the same description as the UFOs that were the triangular UFOs that were observed over Sweden and other parts of Europe going back years ago?
Yeah, essentially the same thing. They have the lights on the corners, and they come in different shapes, I guess you can say. Some of them are V-shaped. Like my wife, she's not sure if the back end of this V-shaped object that she saw was closed in like a triangle. So she only saw the lights that basically made this look more like a V-shaped object, but it could have easily been a triangle. This was at nighttime, but the lights were very prominent. They were rectangular lights that were along the edge of this object she saw there. And this was a close encounter. I mean, this thing was only possibly less than 200 feet away from her. And this thing was silent and was very eerie. That's scary. I think that's a scary. That would be a scary.
Sure would be.
Sighting for a lot of people. That would have been a little scary even for me. There's not too much that scares me, but that's kind of eerie. That's an incredible sighting she had in Woodstown.
Ken, going back years ago in my youth, we lived in Chaumery-Laval, which is an island north of the island of Montreal in the St. Lawrence River, and where we lived was on the approach to Dorval Airport. And going back to those days, it was an interesting time, and I have always had a fascination with aviation. I was able to watch the turboprop, then gradually go into the jets. And I remember this summer day, and this is part of why I do what I do. It was a summer evening, and my mom, very strict, lovely woman, but still strict. You had to be in bed at 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
You could read, you could color, you could do whatever you wanted in bed, but you had to be in bed. The hard part is that we always lived across the street from where we went to school. Now, in Chambly, there was Prince Charles School, which was the elementary school. And then there was a schoolyard where Thomas H. Bowes was, which was the high school. And this was a safe place for kids to play, and the school board was very, very good. They left the gates open so that the kids could play in a safe environment. Well, this one summer day, Ken, my brother and I were in bed, and of course, kids are playing in the schoolyard across the street. The windows are open, and you know, they're playing ball. You could hear them laughing, and all of a sudden it got very quiet.
Yeah.
So my brother and I got out of bed to find out what was going on. And as soon as we did, there was an object that caught my eye over St. Charles School. Now, the object was long, cylindrical, and it seemed to have little portholes that were lighting up from the inside out.
Oh.
And it was going very slow, and it was going from south to north instead of the approach that we've seen so many times during a day of an aircraft from the east to the west.
Yeah.
Now, I must have been about 10 or 11 at the time. I knew that this object that looked like it did should not be able to sustain flight or stay in the sky without engines, but there it was. So it was moving very, very slowly. So my brother and I called my dad, who thought we were just pulling his leg so that we could stay up later. And finally, we were able to get him to come to the bedroom. And when we went to point out what we had seen, it was no longer there.
Wow.
So my dad decided to appease us kids who were rather excited by what we saw. We didn't know what the heck it was. I still don't know what it was so many years later. So he pretended. Do you remember the rotary phones that were on the wall?
No, sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, he put his finger as if he was dialing, but the finger wasn't going in the rotary. And, you know, my brother and I kind of figured, okay, well, at least he's trying to do something. And he
who was he going to call?
Yeah. So what he did was he said, is this the airport? Oh, yeah. Well, my two kids saw something in the sky, and they're kind of upset and worried and blah, blah. Oh, it was an airplane. I see.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dad gets us back to bed, and you know, we kind of figure this is cool, but we're both very excited by what we saw. We weren't afraid. We were amazed, Ken.
Apparently, your father wasn't a believer, huh?
Well, no, but this is where it really gets interesting. The next day, life in the neighborhood is going on the way it was. You know, you had the neighbors downstairs talking, the neighbors upstairs. We lived in, you know, it was one of the old-fashioned neighborhoods where people actually knew each other and talked to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the funny part, Ken. Although what my brother and I saw in the sky was not being discussed by any adult, every kid in the neighborhood saw what we saw.
Oh, boy.
And that is part of why I do what I do, so I can try and help others as well as myself. Try and figure out.
Well, that's kind of surprising too, because you know, let's face it, I was born in 1950, and I believe 1951 is when when the sci-fi, all of the what was that one, the Day the Earth Stood Still with Michael Rennie. I think that's the year that film came out, and that whole decade. There was nothing but flying saucer movies and shows and everything else about aliens for that 10-year period between 1950 and 1960 and even beyond that. And you know, still a lot of people. I think a lot of people they just don't want to know.
Yeah. Well, that's the era of Popular Mechanics, Fate Magazine, Popular Scientific. And these magazines tried to make sense of what it was people were seeing. So here we are in the year 2016, and we have Hollywood and independent television productions carrying on the tradition except in the digital format. And how much do you think that the Hollywood connection, as well as these different TV shows, whether they're so-called reality shows or whether they are actual series that take a respectable look into the phenomena, How do they fit into today's society when it comes to believing or being skeptical?
I just think that the producers of these shows, the creators of these shows, are just looking for some kind of publicity. I don't think that they're really trying to. I'll tell you what, half of these UFO shows on TV I can't even look at.
Really?
I mean, they're so ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I've been running across a few websites that are totally ridiculous UFO sites, fake pictures. Apparently, this is, to me, this is debunkers creating these websites just to put a dirty name on ufology and aliens and UFOs, and I think they're just trying to bring it down with all the crap that they have on some of these websites. I mean, it's just incredible. I was looking at two of them today. I had to shut my computer off. I really don't know what's going on with Hollywood. You would think that Independence Day and there's a gazillion other signs with Mel Gibson.
Yep.
I think a lot of people just they watch these shows and they just walk away with watching the show and they just don't want to think about it, or they say, oh, it's Hollywood or it's fake, and I don't think they want to come to grips with some of the stuff that's going on is real.
Speaking about Independence Day, my wife and I went and saw Resurgence, the second part, the additional part of the Independence Day original. It sucked. It really sucked. They should have left it alone with the original Independence Day, and apparently the same thing is happening with the Ghostbuster movie. So
I saw it too. I took me and my grandson went over. We also saw it at one of the local shows here, and I was disappointed. I was left disappointed. I thought that the first one was good.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what. One of my favorite UFO shows or movies would be, of course, Close Encounters, which I've watched for the umpteenth time there last week, and Signs with Mel Gibson. I thought it was right on the mark myself. I really did.
Well, my favorite UFO alien movie, or I should say television show, Mork and Mindy. Nanu Shazbot. Orson. Yeah,
it was priceless.
It was. I've got a quick question from one of our listeners. We've got about 7 minutes left, Ken. They would like to know how you started and why you started getting into the UFO investigation field.
Well, basically, as a matter of fact, I have a very interesting photo that I saw on my website. So I'm up to 10,000 photos now for World UFO Photos, as a matter of fact.
All right, I'm going to change that on my sheet here.
I'm sitting on about 4,500 photos right now that I haven't even published. I'm just, I'm starting to put more and more every day on my website just to kind of clean out my log of photos here. But I have a very interesting photo from Ocean City, circa 1956, 1955. It's down there. We're on the beach, and my father is standing there with my aunt and uncle standing in front of him, and I'm not sure which kid I am, but I'm pretty sure I was out there in the surf. And apparently my mother was taking the photo with her old Brownie camera, and this was one of them old shoebox photos I just came across and said, what the hell is this? and if you look in the background, there's a flying saucer back there. It's really strange. Strange photo. I've never really seen anything like it, but if you get a chance, check it out. But I was born in '50, lived in Philly. I remember my father would always take us down to the Philadelphia airport. He was a Navy man, combat veteran in World War II. He was on a carrier Bennington that attacked Okinawa, Iwo Jima, and they sunk the Yamato, biggest battleship in the world there. Some of his planes off of his carrier. But make a long story short, we moved to a little town called New Jersey, which is on the Delaware River. Now, New Jersey, it's called National Park, New Jersey, on the Delaware. And across the Delaware River from National Park is the Philadelphia Naval Yard, and catty corner to that is the Philadelphia International Airport. So I've been looking in the sky really ever since I was 7 years old, because they used to have F-102 daggers, fly over our house in formation to set up for landing. Apparently, at that time, they had a small naval air station there at the Philadelphia Naval Yard, and they used to, land there and take off, and they used to fly right over my house to get over to the naval air station. So I've been looking at the sky all my life. I'm a private pilot myself. I've always loved airplanes, and I've always been interested in it. And I've always been a stargazer all my life. I'd come home. I'd look at the stars. I even had dreams about it. I dreamed about UFOs flying over the skies and everything else. But that's how I got started. And of course, when I had my official first sighting in 1974, I was 24 years old. That kind of sealed it for me. That blew my mind that night that I saw that alien craft fly right over top of us. That's what kind of got me started, and I kind of brushed it aside there for many years, and once I retired in 2000, I decided to, I was tired of fishing every day, so I figured I wanted to do something special, so I said, hell, I'm going to join MUFON and start getting into the UFO thing, because it's something that I've always loved, and it's a passion with me, like. All my websites and everything else, I don't get paid a penny for doing any of this. I spend 3 to 4 hours a day just browsing through photos and case files and everything else. It's just a passion with me that I can't shake.
How can anyone get sick and tired of fishing?
Well,
I know exactly what you mean, though, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
Ken, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Ken. I look forward to chatting with you every 2 weeks and during the week as we get more and more information out to the masses around the world about UFOs. And if somebody would like to contact you, Ken, what's the best way to do it?
They can email me at falcon51@comcast.net.
And if anyone should want to report a UFO to MUFON, what is the best way to do that?
It's just MUFON website. It's www.mufon.com. And if I get anyone that wants to send me any of their photos, make sure that there's a date and location. And if there's a story with the photo, that's even better. But just in case if I decide to publish it, I don't publish anything without a date and location. So, I like to keep my website as legit as possible.
All right. Speaking about your websites, one more time, give out your website addresses, my friend.
Yes, it's worldufophotos.org, worldufophotosannews.org, and I'm also the founder of a Christian organization called heavensrangers.net. We're trying to open up the Vatican libraries and find out the truth about Christianity. So that's what that's all about.
Love it. We'll have to talk about that next time you're with us in 2 weeks. Until then, my friend, take care of yourself. And Ken, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. It's an honor. Thank you very much.
Take care, my friend. Exo Nation, Ken Pfiefer is going to be with us every 2 weeks here on the Exo at this time, as we're going to report to you, the members of the Exo Nation, UFO reportings and sightings from around the world, focusing, of course, on the United States and Canada. Wow, exciting times here in the Exo. When I come back from the news at the top of the hour, I'm going to be joined by Bill Bean, the spiritual warrior, and we're going to be talking about the Mandela effect as well as the King James Bible. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away.